Welcome to Look Behind the Look, the celebrated podcast that explores your favorite looks in film, television, and fashion history. Through conversations with the fashion world's elite and award-winning hair, makeup, and costume designers on sets around the world, you will see and hear exciting tales from behind the scenes, career origin stories, and tons of advice and tips. I'm your host, Tiffany Bartok. Hey everybody, welcome to Look Behind the Look. We are deep into awards season, and I'm talking today with no stranger to the awards arena. It's Adrutha Lee, the hair designer behind a lot of your favorite looks in film. Harley Quinn, one of my favorites is I, Tonya. She was on the show talking about Amsterdam and her work with the cast on that film that very few people saw, but is incredible actually. And we are talking today about what is sure to be an awards favorite. It's Angelina Jolie as Maria Callas in Maria, and Adrutha is a longtime collaborator with Angelina Jolie, and she talks to me today about all of the hair design behind the character of Maria Callas that Angelina plays so well in this film. If you have a chance to see this film in the theater, please do. I saw it in the theater, of course. I always prefer to see things that way if possible. And it was really exciting to see it with an audience who was very interactive during the screening. So if you have a chance to see it with people, please do. Otherwise, you can see it on Netflix December 11th. And it's truly beautiful, gorgeous, just something to really see. Every aspect of the creative design of this film is stunning. So today we are focusing on hair design, of course, with the incomparable Adrutha Lee. So let's listen.
I'd like to walk with you through your life. Should I call you Maria or La Callas? Tell me how it felt to be on stage.
An exaltation, an intoxication. I thought the stage itself would burn.
Sometimes this thing happens, the thing that's happening right now.
There's a point where self-confidence becomes a kind of insanity.
How is that for a position for the piano, madam?
It's not right, but I'm nice, so leave it.
Perhaps we could speak of your life away from the stage.
There is no life away from the stage.
Hi, Adrutha.
Hello.
Hey, this has been a long time coming.
I
We have been
know.
trying to connect over this beautiful
I
film
know.
since 1999. So I'm so happy to have you. I'm so excited to talk to you about everything. You're in Paris now, yeah?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
can you tell us why, or no, not
Yeah,
yet?
I'm doing another project with Angelina, and it's a French film, and
Yes.
it's quite lovely to be here at this time of year, around
Yeah.
Christmas time. And matter of fact, I was just out, and it's so beautiful.
Because it's nighttime there, yeah? Evening?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Good. Well, the last time that we spoke was about Amsterdam, the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason I loved Amsterdam so much was because of Margot Robbie's wig and the hair color that you dyed her. It was the best brown I had ever seen. And so, that's what we talked about last time. And but everyone knows you to be a legend. You're an Oscar award-winning hair designer, and there's so many things you do. All my favorite movies, and Angelina's my
Thank you.
very favorite actress in the whole world. And I just was looking at pictures of you two together and saw the one where she was congratulating you when you won the
Oh,
Oscar.
yes.
And
Yes.
you saw her in the audience for Dallas Buyers Club. And so what brought you guys together again this time?
Well, the project, you mean for Maria?
For Maria,
Maria,
yes.
yes. Okay, Maria was like, she had been talking about doing it for a while. And I thought, well, that would be a really cool project, but I didn't really think a whole lot more of it because sometimes she has different people do different things. I knew that that I could do it.
Yeah.
And, some things came up. I was talking to her one day, and I was doing a head cast on her for the movie, for just to get her wig started, and did
Ah,
not know that at the time when I walked in that I was going to do that I was doing this, that I was going to be doing the movie.
is that
And
true?
yeah, so she had talked to somebody else, and that I think she realized that that person probably wasn't the right person for the
Got it.
job. And I didn't volunteer myself. I just, left it up to her as to what she decided to do. But so I went to help get her wig started,
I see.
and for the movie. And we were talking, and we were talking about what we were going to do, how we were going to drop her hairline down, and how what she wanted to do, and just looking at pictures of Maria, and thinking about how we could make this work on Angelina Jolie, making her Maria Callas.
Right.
So, about 30 minutes into it, we get it finished, and we're about finished. And I believe she was getting ready to fly out somewhere. And she turned around and she looked at me, and this is how it happened. She turned around and she looked at me. She said, "You can do my movie." And I looked at her and I said, "Okay." I said, I might have another project. I'm not sure. And I said, "I'll just have to find out." She said, "No, you need to do this movie. You need to do this."
Oh,
And so I said, "Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll make sure that I'm available to do it."
oh,
So, and
Maria.
that's kind of how it got started.
I
Enough.
love that.
So I had enough time to do some prep, and we some, and I had all these reference photos that the makeup artist had gathered, because she had been knowing that she was going to do the project for a while, and so she shared a lot of things with me, and I started looking up things, and and it was like, okay, let's get three wigs made.
Okay.
We're probably going to need at least three wigs. And I said,
Okay.
yeah, at least, and then some pieces. Because I knew it was about the last week of her life, but
Uh-huh.
there were tons of flashbacks. We ended up using 12 wigs.
Oh God.
Yeah, we ended up using 12 and a whole lot of pieces.
Oh my.
And yeah, it was a lot. We did like 10 operas, and well, between the concerts, her concerts and her operas, there were 10, and I had never done an opera before.
Oh my
I've
goodness.
never done an opera. I'm not,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I thought, well, I better pick up on this real fast.
Yeah, yeah. And what would make it opera hair? You know what I mean?
It's so defined.
Yeah,
When you pull up all the pictures of Maria and all the different operas that she did, it's a different time period. So, hair was, even though it was for a particular opera, and for the time frame it was written for, it was still, hair that was done in the 50s, and in the 40s and the 50s, a lot of it being done in the 50s. So
right.
it was a little bit different.
Right.
And then what modern day operas are, but it's still, the opera hair is definitely the time period of whatever the opera is.
Right.
So it's quite different than movie or salon hair, or things like
Salon
that.
hair. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, it's very, I mean, some people, they do operas and Broadway or whatever.
Sure.
But operas, I know some people that work in that industry, and it is different. They know how to ventilate their wigs. There's a certain pattern for certain things, and the way it's done, and the way that the wigs are set. And a lot of times in movies, you don't set hair. It's very natural, and a
Right.
lot of things that I've done. But yeah, we had to, because of the time period too, the opera hair, the concert hair, and she always had a look, and
Mhm.
throughout the 50s and the 60s, she had a hairdresser that, did some really nice things on her for that period, for that time period, and I
So
had a lot of references.
Maria Callas had her own hairdresser that worked with her all the time. Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. Do you know what their name was?
It was a guy,
Uh-huh.
and
I'll look, I'll look.
I'd have
Yeah.
to do some more research.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
when it was really interesting, and it's good to have all those references,
Yes.
and it can be good and it can be bad.
And because of
You
the
know,
pressure?
The pressure to
Yeah,
recreate?
well, when you're doing it on somebody else,
Yeah.
you have to, like I said, and I said this in one of our Q&As, I was doing Maria Callas, going to try to get as close to that feel and look as I could, but I was also doing it on Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a lot to be considered.
Yes.
You have to try to make everything work for her and her face, and you don't want
Right.
what you do to become the story. You
That is
don't.
so that is
Mhm,
so what I saw when I saw the film. What you're talking about right now, it was not
mhm.
about the focus was not about the hair and the make. It really blended into her whole
Yeah,
performance so beautifully. You really
yeah.
achieved that. So
Well,
how do you avoid it from
yeah.
upstaging the actor? Yeah.
A lot of it is, you could do the exact, you could do the really high hair, and some of the hairstyles that Maria had,
Right.
especially in the 60s, early 60s, and some of it was really high hair. You do that on Angelina Jolie, and you're going to get something that's a little bit odd looking. So
Right.
you have to make sure that the dimensions,
Okay.
that everything
Wow.
kind of goes together.
Right. Right.
And Maria Callas had a really wavy hair and coarse hair, and a lot of it, especially in that last week of her life,
Yeah.
where she wore her hair down and it really wasn't
So
done.
beautiful though.
Yeah,
So
but so
beautiful.
what I did was the wig, that to keep her soft, just like they did in the house. When I
Yeah.
mean, when she was in her apartment in Paris,
Yes.
they kept the clothes soft, the colors soft,
Mm-hmm.
flowy, and that's what I did with the hair, so that,
Yes.
that there would be this vulnerability, this softness that went from head to toe, and one of the funny stories is I remember setting the wig, and Angie would come in from time to time, and we'd be looking at it, and I'd have to change a little bit about the color. I'd have to put a little more gray hair. She was very specific, but she's very good and has a great eye for things. And she's really
Of
helpful, and she'll
course.
elevate you as a hairdresser too.
Wow.
And I remember I used an oven, one of the old-fashioned ovens where you put the iron in and it
Yeah.
heated up. That's what I used on Margot's when I did Amsterdam. And
Is that so?
yeah, and I tried that. It's too tight. I didn't like that. Then, I tried to set it with rollers. Didn't like that. That didn't look good. And to get a natural wave, what I did was, and I did this also on a couple of other movies, was I rolled up paper towels and made rollers out of them. And that's what I set that wig in. That made such a beautiful, soft curl that looked like natural curl.
Yes,
It
I
did.
thought that her hair was naturally curly like that, and then it was just emphasized. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, or
It was
just pulled
so
up.
convincing
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
beautiful. Yes,
You could
great work.
you couldn't get that with a roller or a iron or
Sure, now that I think about it.
yeah, and
Yeah,
so it worked for that. It's an old technique,
I love it.
and which I use a lot of them, and even for modern looks, I use old techniques. But it worked, and I the next morning, the first morning I tried it, I took it out, and we were still in the testing phase, and I said, "What do you think about this?" She said, "Yeah, I like that," and I knew that I was on the right track because like I said, she's got a great eye, and
Hmm.
and because of working with hair so much and in all my days in the salon, what natural curl looks like. So I
Yep.
thought that emulated it probably the best because it was a very straight wig, very straight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now, how one thing that stuck out to me when you were talking is how did you convince production to allow you to have this budget for all those wigs? Like,
A lot of them, a lot of them were mine.
oh,
A lot of them were mine.
wow.
They knew, they knew what they needed. They knew
Yeah.
that it was going to, in the three wigs, they were good with that. And they also had some pieces made. There was no argument about what I needed. But then when I started looking at stuff and I'm looking at these operas and I'm thinking, I can't, I got to get really, really long hair.
Yeah.
And like on Medea, when we had the long red wig. And the
Yes.
wasn't that wild? That was good.
Oh,
And then the blonde wig.
yes.
And so I just did these two wigs, and those were mine. And I thought, you know what? Let's just see.
Wow.
She's often talked about she's never been a redhead. Medea, we could do it. And we asked Pablo, what, and Norma, we could, we could do the blonde or we could do dark. And I said, let's just try it. And she really liked the blonde. She liked the red. And but yeah, those were mine. So
Wow.
that's how it ended up being so many
Okay.
because it was
Wonderful. That's
coming up.
lucky.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have a pretty good wig stock and I have a few pieces, of really good ones that I've actually bought myself that did not work for what I was getting them for, and so they're well made. And I would purchase them myself because I know what they're worth to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, those should be in a museum for sure. They probably will be because now you're in the Oscar race, of course. And like, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that too, about how you prepare and sort of, get in your head in the game for something like as intimidating as an Oscar race. Do you let it get to you or do you just keep
Well,
going?
right now, yeah, it always kind of, it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting. And then you think, well, is pretty hair, and is opera hair and all the different things that we had to do to take her on this journey, to do all
Yeah.
these flashbacks and to do her current look as she was in the movie. To do all that, you think, okay, is this anything that the Academy is going to look at as, so often, and that, and so often they look at, all the prosthetic work.
Aesthetics. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, and there's a lot of good stuff out there this year.
Sure. Well,
There's a
yeah,
lot of
sure.
there's a lot of good stuff, and there's a lot of prosthetic work, and it's in, and I don't think it's exactly what you do. It's just is it above and beyond the achievement? Is it to that achievement? Or are you doing something besides just doing your job? You see,
Right.
that's something that you have to look at too. Am I just doing my job by
Right.
doing all the different looks that we did, or did I go above and beyond? Because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for that level.
That's really
And
interesting.
yeah, and I remember when I got the call on the movie that I got the Oscar for, I had no idea about any of the process, and I got the call from the producer, you're on the short list, and I said, what's that?
Yeah.
And then she told me, because I didn't try to do anything, and then I said, for doing my job? I mean, that's exactly what I said.
I believe you.
And she said, well, it was just, it was more than that.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
anyway, so that's what you have to think about. And I was just in a meeting last night, as a matter of fact. And as to all the things that's being looked at. And the unfortunate part about Maria is it hasn't come out yet.
I
So
know.
that's what's happened with so many.
Drew, can you talk to me a little bit about how deceiving it is to, Angelina looks so effortless, so natural, especially around the house when she's
Yeah.
walking around in the house. Can you talk a little bit about like, no makeup and undone hair and, things like that and how you have to work even harder to make it look so effortless?
You have to work twice as hard to
Right.
make things look simple. I mean, that's just that's the way it is. Nobody sees, in the simple looks, you had to work twice as hard to make that happen. That's what's
Yeah.
happened with.
It's so hard to, I mean, like you look at things like Wicked that are like, I feel like I've seen it 150 times already because it's been marketing for so long.
Right.
But then sometimes like Maria, I feel like is going to be a Christmas sneak attack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I saw it at a screening with Angelina and here at the DGA in New York. And my husband was late, so I had a bad seat. I was very upset about that. But there wasn't a bad seat in the house, come to find out. And, there were gasps in the audience, at one of the parts when, when that reporter, spoiler alert, reporter comes. Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah. And just the way the whole thing, and we knew everything that was at stake for her, by watching the film. Everybody was enraptured. Everybody was completely committed. There was a standing ovation. And, it's going to be very well received. I hope people will see it in the theater.
I do too. I do too.
I really hope so. It'll probably run for a long time. It has to run for a week, right, on both coasts to be
Yeah. It
considered for
has
the
to run for
Oscar.
a week.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody has to see it that opening weekend, but of course they can see it on Netflix. And it's extraordinary work all around. I said it's like watching the most beautiful room be decorated. Like
Oh, I know.
like if you're
I
sitting and
know.
you're watching just the interior decorators just go to work, you know what I mean? And her performance is incredible. What was your
Yeah.
favorite look that you worked on with her? What was one that you didn't know you could really pull off and then you
Well, I'll tell you I don't, you've seen it in the ads, and that's the London
Yes.
farewell concert with the blue and
Yes.
white dress.
Yes.
I mean, that was beautiful. But what happened was we had done the hospital scene where she had gone to see,
Yeah. Yeah.
Onassis, and we had to leave that location and go immediately to the
Right.
theater. And we were in a little like camper trailer thing, and Pam and I had no room. She has, and so and we had no very little time. So I said, okay, this is something I've got to do. So I undid the look that we had in the hospital, and I took the wig that I was going to use for the farewell concert, and I added it to the one she had on. I didn't even take the one she had on
Oh,
off.
wow.
That
Okay.
that was a feat in itself,
I'm
trying to
sure.
figure out how, but it was just easier for me to, because you just go into this mode
Right.
of, I've got to do this. This got to get done. We don't have that much time. And so I told him, I said, okay, there's going to be bobby pins flying everywhere,
Yeah.
because what we're going to do is, I said, I'm going to incorporate this with the wig you've already got on. I said, can you handle it? And Angelina said, sure, go for it, you know. And
That
so
must
that's what we
add to
did.
that must add to the performance too when you're doing those opera scenes to feel that real like
Yeah,
weight,
the weight.
it's like
Yeah, to weigh,
serious.
a
Yes.
good custom piece, a good wig
Yes.
does not weigh a lot. The wigs that aren't that great do have are more weighty.
Right, right,
But when
right.
you put two on somebody's head, and I mean, she knew what I was doing, and I told her what I had to do, and she said, "Okay, go for it. I'll be fine."
Oh my
And
goodness.
so that's what we did. And after it was all said and done, and Pam and I were looking at each other, because we were in such a tiny little space that she had to walk up behind me on a couch, walk behind me to get to the other side. There was no room to do it otherwise. And when it was all over with, we were laughing. How in the world
Oh,
did we pull that one off?
I would
But
love to
she
see
was
the
so pretty.
aftermath. It's just like one of those things where you just pass
Yeah,
out and eat
yeah.
carbs.
Yeah. But I knew I could do any of these looks.
Yeah.
I can do that. But it was just when you have to do stuff like that, then you have to dig real deep inside you and go, okay,
Yeah. Get
we
all
got to
that
do this. And
courage.
not only that, it needs to look good.
Yeah. Yeah. Flawless. Everything was flawless. Can you talk to me a little bit about the challenge, like the decision to make her stay looking like Angelina and not really going the prosthetic routes and not having it be about the nose? I know
Well, she
that's
did have
makeup, but
prosthetic.
oh, she did. Okay.
She had a
Okay.
prosthetic
I couldn't
nose.
tell. I couldn't tell.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. There
Fantastic.
was a couple of, there was, I don't know how many sculptures he did, but there was a couple of sculpts of it. And it was just, let's try this, let's try that. And they finally decided on, but she did have one.
Okay.
And not only was Pamela doing her makeup, she was putting on her prosthetic nose every day too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we were doing this in a very short amount of time because we didn't have a lot of time. She
Wow.
was, yeah. Yeah. So we did have it, but what it was, I mean, we did drop down the hairline to make it a little bit closer, and we tried to, but honestly, I didn't want it to be about the nose, about
No.
the hair, about anything. I didn't want anything to take anybody out of the story,
Mhm.
and there might be people to say, oh, she doesn't look like, but that wasn't what we were actually trying to do. We were
Yeah.
trying to, I mean, Angelina captured Maria Callas in her performance.
Yes.
And
Yes.
what we were trying to do was to give her something that she would feel comfortable in, and that she felt like that we had done what we needed to do, and didn't go so far as to anybody to be distracted.
Right. Support her
Because
performance.
we've already been through that. Last year, there was a lot of distractions on different things,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Mm-hmm.
and it just it doesn't, I didn't want that.
Right. Right.
And so anyway, that's, you know, that's just where we were coming from. We wanted to be part of the story, but we didn't want to be the story.
I think too, it was an amazing choice for him to open the film with us seeing her for so long. He sort of dealt with all of everybody's doubts head on.
Yeah.
Like it opens with her singing, and because everybody's like, he can't sing, you know what I mean? Everybody's coming, show me what you got, you know what I mean? And then so he just hits us all with it. So we're like, we crossed that bridge, she's got it, and we're hanging on now. So I think that was a really good decision directorial lead to open with
Yeah,
that.
you
So
know, you can do the, you know, Pam could have done the eyebrows a different little bit, or done the
right,
really,
right.
you know, this, that, and the other. And you know, it was just like, if you're really, really trying to look like somebody else, then you have to do a lot more, you know, and that's what we were just trying to make it work,
Yeah.
and her
Yeah.
be comfortable, and it be a beautiful, you know, everything be beautiful.
Yes, yes. Well,
The
it certainly is.
cinematography, yeah.
Oh, Ed Lockman's work is incredible.
Oh my
I mean,
God, I
he's one
know.
of my favorites, DP. He's one of my favorite DPs. And this, I was shocked that it was him, but then I wasn't, you know, in the end, I was like, oh my God, look at this.
Well, the costumes,
Oh, everything.
the jewelry.
The
I
Paris.
mean, and then the production designer was so helpful to me. I
Oh,
have charts. And I'd say, okay, Guy, what is exactly what you were going to see today? And, you know, and he would say, okay, this is what, you know, this is what I have. And it was so helpful. It's
really?
so helpful. Oh
How
yeah,
did
the
that
production
inform
designer.
how did that inform what you would
Well,
do?
just his production design
Mm-hmm.
and how he went about it, and then
Inspiring.
his relation, you know, and his relationship with the director.
Mm-hmm.
And so and then we were staying at the same hotel, and we'd see each other every night, you know, for a snack or whatever when we'd get in, and we'd sit there and talk for hours
Oh,
about,
wow.
okay, so, you know, what is this going to be? What is that going to be? And this is, you know, yeah,
Wow. Oh,
yeah,
it sounds like a dream. It sounds like a dream. The movie is beautiful.
it
I'm
is.
so happy to talk to you. I know how busy you are, and I could talk to you forever. So we'll wait. You're probably doing 10 movies now between now and the Oscar run. So we'll have plenty to talk about.
I'm sorry I was late.
Oh my gosh, not at all. You weren't late at all. I think everything was right on time. But I'm looking so forward to seeing this film just go, 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 go,
Yes,
go, and you
yeah.
get all your flowers. And you're on Drew, thought the worst thing in the world in watching your work was when you weren't on Instagram, and now you're on Instagram.
I know, and I've kind of not done a lot with it here lately because I've been so busy.
Oh,
But
you're
yeah, I'm just
working?
putting some.
You don't have time to post yourself working because you're actually working?
I've got some fun stuff on there, you know, because there's
Yeah.
been so much in all the things that I've done. I've got some fun stuff on there too.
Yeah. I mean, your work is, if I can't imagine that there's anybody who doesn't like already know who you are, but for the kids that are watching this, like your career is phenomenal, and it's
Thank
only
you.
going on and on and on forever. I love watching your work. I love it.
Oh, thank you.
And so I'll put your
Thank you.
Instagram in the show notes, of course. And
Okay.
and everybody tell us what you think of Maria.
Look Behind the Look is a Vinyl Foot production, written by me, your host, Tiffany Bartok, produced by Jace Bartok, edited by Mugresh Thakor. If you're interested in learning more, find our video version on the YouTube channel, Look Behind the Look Podcast. There you can see rare photos and clips from our guests. And please follow us on Twitter at LookBehindPod and Instagram at LookBehindTheLook. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. And tell your friends and spread the word. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or any podcatcher of your choice. Thanks for listening to Look Behind the Look.